Hello, hello, and welcome to a new episode of Ramblings from Two Meddling Kids. I'm Edward Hunt, joined by,
Mike Cunningham.
and we are the Meddling Kids. And today we'll be reviewing Shazam. So thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. If this is your first time, or if you'd like a quick review of the rules, what we do is we like to review movies. Maybe we'll review something else, but we'll see. For now, movies. And also, don't worry, we're not going to spoil anything yet. For the first 5-10 minutes of our podcast, we always like to give a spoiler-free review just to make sure. Sorry, there's some technical stuff. Mike has to lift his hands up to make sure the light actually shows in his room for some reason. I don't know. But for the first 5-10 minutes, we give a spoiler-free review just to make sure that, we're letting you know what we thought of the movie without spoiling anything. So that way you can decide whether or not you want to go and then watch the movie as well. From there, we'll give you background and a play-by-play of us fully going into what happened in the plot and why we thought that was good or, in some movie cases, awful. Was that going to be today? We'll see. Mike, you ready for a spoiler-free review?
Yes, I am.
No worries. Some slight technical, we'll see. Mike decided to visit his family this weekend and abandoned me, but I'll be okay. I'll overcome. That's fine. I'm good. All right, spoiler for review, sir. Go for it. What'd you think?
I promise you I'm going to get better at these reviews. So up front, I give it a 2. This is a solid 2. I think going in, Shazam wasn't one of the bigger properties from the DCEU that they had out. So just like like Ant-Man before it, I don't think you expected much. I think people like the main character, the main actor, but that likability really is the only thing coming into this this franchise, this movie. So I think the monster design was really cool, which is interesting because of who the director is. He had a few stints in horror before doing Shazam, so like that definitely makes sense. Because I feel like there are definitely nightmare scenes, I'll call them, with some of the monsters and the entities and stuff like that are really, really terrifying. That can be really terrifying, which is frustrating at times because it's like that's why there's such a tonal shift in these movies. Like you have these nightmare elements, and then Zachary Levi doing his 5 minutes of stand up. But but like so, I did enjoy the monster design. I think that was really cool. But otherwise, I think the story was kind of weak. I think they attempted to give you kind of emotional beats, and then like sometimes they worked, sometimes they didn't. I think they also did a lot of stuff where it was just like a lot of foreshadowing with different things, and it was just like, so they think we're stupid. Like they really pointed out things. And it was never subtle or anything like that. It was very much like this will return. Like you will see this element again. I think, and I talked about this all the time, but I feel like there's such a disparity between the personalities of the actor who plays Billy Batson, and the actor who plays Shazam, right? So like, it seems like Zachary Levi as Shazam is much more immature than his counterpart, Billy Batson. And it was like that always throws me off. It doesn't seem like they're the same character. And when I was talking to my brother about it, I think it's interesting in certain instances of Shazam in the comics, or even like in some of the animated TV series, Shazam is all of the siblings, and then like they combine to make one, to make one person. So that makes more sense when you have like a personality that's all over the place, because it is an amalgam of 6 different, kids. So that makes sense, right? But it was just like the way they have it currently in the DCEU is just like this one guy who goes being super very serious. He has a very dark backstory and stuff like that, and then he's like super immature when he becomes a superhero, and it was just like, this doesn't make sense. That was one of my gripes in the first Shazam, and it was like it continues. I think even worse this time, because you barely see Billy Batson, that actor, in Shazam 2. Like, I think he might have at most 5 minutes screen time, like that, and that's like being very generous. They were their superhero selves for the most part of the entire film. So yeah, I think the monster design was cool. I think there was a lot of tonal shifts. The story was kind of weak, and they didn't sell a lot of the emotional beats that they were going for. So I give it a 2. Like it was fun. Like visual, like the dragon was really cool and stuff like that. But like outside of like those elements, I didn't really I didn't really like the film, as much as I think I like this one better than the first one. I'll give you that. But yeah,
Okay.
2, solid
Yeah.
2.
Two. Yeah. I'm stuck between like a 2 and 2.5 myself. And I'll probably figure that out by the end of this, I think. But yeah, there was you look at it, there's some really pretty and cool looking scenes, right? So I think they show it in the trailer, but there's one part with Shazam is like up and there's like lightning behind him, and that was really cool just to make sure that, that's a really cool visual. Dragon was a cool visual. I agree with Mike. The monsters were cool. As a whole, like Zachary Levi, he's a pretty charming dude. Also, he's like jacked, man. His neck is thick. Like when he has in that scene. So he's definitely
for another podcast, Chris.
I'm just saying, but like, man, like it's like I'm a big dude. His neck is like this freaking large. So he works out. He's definitely put himself in it. And when he's in there, it's like okay, that's a funny, entertaining parts. But I agree, of like it doesn't match. It's completely different than Billy Batson when he's a teenager, who also, he gets no screen time in this movie, versus his buddy Freddie got so much screen time.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why aren't we giving any to him? But whatever.
Well,
Some of the emotional beats.
Freddie was very much the likable one from the first one, so I feel like they doubled down with this one to give him more screen time.
Yeah. Yeah, but like some of the emotional beats and like they didn't make sense. Like, why are we having this? Why is this now an issue going on when it kind of came out of nowhere? Just because you need some kind of drama and like other parts of like character interactions and relationships that were built felt like, why is this happening so quickly? And why are we supposed to believe this? But it's a superhero movie, so I kind of look at some of it with a grain of salt. But it wasn't great. So I'm going to say 2.5 for now, and I will give you a definitive answer towards the end. But yeah, there were some cool parts, but I wasn't super impressed. Oh, and just last thing I'll say of superhero movies all the time is they what always takes me out of superhero movies is when they dumb down their powers so that way to increase tension. Because I get it, you're a superhero. Shazam is a very powerful superhero from the comics. That man is he's strong. He can fight Superman, right? And so to have him all the sometimes in the movie be like, I'm invincible or I'm super fast or whatever, and you're like, okay, why aren't you always using super speed, my dude? Mm-hmm. You're not running out of your powers. You're there all the time. But now instead of using your super speed, you're going to slowly jog away from something, and that's supposed to make me feel like it might happen. Nah, man, you are way faster than what's going on here. But I digress. 2.5 for now, and we will get into it a little bit more. But that is our spoiler for review portion. So Mike gave it a 2. I gave it a 2.5. It's all right. If you really want to stay on top of everything in the DC universe, I'd say watch it. But you don't necessarily have to.
That might not. Yeah. That might not.
There were some entertainment.
They're also resetting the DCEU in anyway. So just this might not even matter. This might just be a throwaway because they already filmed it. The same thing with Aquaman and the Flash.
Yeah. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, very true, very true. And they can't keep, the DC universe can't keep writing everything off for taxes, so they have to release a movie at some point in time. So, yeah, so it wasn't bad. If I had kids, I'd take a kid to see it, but I don't have a kid yet. But yeah, so that is our spoiler for review. So if you would like, feel free to check out the movie now. Just make sure you come back for our play-by-play, where you'll get some of our classic commentary and zany antics. But before we get into our background, quick word from our sponsors. That is still me and Just Be, a team with Compass. We are real estate agents in the DMV, all about helping you find a home, or just really answering any home-related question. You need contractors, a lender. We have great connections around the area. If you want advice on the market or what's going on, feel free to reach out. I can absolutely help with that. And a bonus perk of being with Compass is even if you're not in DC, Maryland, or Virginia, say you're in Tennessee or Charlotte, North Carolina. I know a phenomenal agent in Charlotte, North Carolina, for instance. We have agent connections all over the country, and we can make sure to find the right expert for you. All right, but getting back to the podcast, let's have a little bit of background of this movie. What is the ground of back here, Mike?
Ground of back. All right. Shazam! Exclamation point.
I don't know.
Fury of the Gods.
I'm just improvising, man. Not all gonna stick.
Shazam! Fury of the Gods came out on March 17th, 2023. The runtime is about 2 hours and 10
Mhm.
minutes. You filled all of those 2 hours and 10 minutes.
Yeah, you did. You did.
Directed by David F. Sandberg, who also directed the first Shazam. Um, but like I was saying with his background, he did Lights Out, which was a horror movie, and then the Annabelle Creation movie.
Okay.
So he definitely has like kind of like a
Ah.
James Wan background in horror, and like I said, you see that very
Mhm.
much in the design of the monsters, right? In these nightmare sequences, because in the first Shazam, there was a scene once the Sivana, the guy who got the powers from the staff, he goes
Mhm.
into a boardroom of like his because his family is like runs this big Fortune 500 company. He goes into a boardroom and that scene is terrifying. Like because he goes in there with all these monsters and they start murdering everybody
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
the room. And it was just like,
Mhm.
okay, this is this man's background. This is this is why this movie is so
Yeah.
terrifying. Because it was just like you got
This is
Billy
what he
Batson
likes.
figuring out his powers and shit like that, and then street murder in a boardroom with the horrifying monsters.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so yeah, that's David F. Sandberg. Rundown. The budget was 125 million. We won't know the box office. I'm seeing early reports that it was like quote unquote a flop, but it is a smooth
Mhm.
Sunday. Like I'll give it till tomorrow to get the full numbers from the weekend to see. But I
Yeah.
don't know what it was projected to make. And like we were talking earlier, it was just like trying to figure out what the in order to be a success because it'll probably top the box office this week, I assume, right?
Mhm.
Creed, I mean, Creed is out, still running, but it's also in its third week. Scream is out,
Yeah.
but it's in its second week, and it's so it'll probably top the box office at most, maybe at like 30 to 50 mil, let's say, just an industry prediction. Um,
Gotcha. Gotcha.
like I said, I want to wait till tomorrow to really see what it did for the weekend. I'm not checking the box office on a Saturday to see if they
Yeah.
did well
All
or
right.
not. The
What'd you say the
Rotten
budget was again? Just out of curiosity.
125 mil.
Whew. Yeah, if that's the budget. And that's opening weekend. That might be rough, but fair. Okay.
Exactly. That's what I'm putting.
Yeah.
Um, the Rotten Tomatoes is currently at a 54 critics, 84 audience, which I can, yeah, it seems like one of those that the critics aren't gonna like it, but your hardcore DC fans,
hmm
are gonna, they're gonna like it regardless. The genre is action, adventure, comedy. I think they delivered on those. I
Yeah.
would say that that's the genre. The film stars Zachary Levi returning as Shazam, Asher Angel as Billy Batson, and it introduces in this movie Lucy Lewis Calypso, one of the daughters of Atlas, as well as
hmm
Helen Mirren as Hespera, and what's her name, Rachel Zegler, or Ziegler maybe, as Athea. Those are the three
Okay.
daughters of Atlas. You have Jack Dylan Grazer returning as Freddy, Jimon Hansoon as the Wizard, and who does Grace Curry, sorry, as Mary, one of Billy's foster siblings or whatever. Yeah. So basically, yeah, I
hmm
think everybody returned from the first Shazam, and then they just introduced the daughters of Atlas in this one. Um,
Yeah.
and then the tagline
And
is
while we're just talking about actors,
Hmm? What'd you say?
I was saying while we're talking about actors,
Yeah.
yeah, Megan Good, I thought she was a perk of the movie. Like Megan
Yeah.
Good being able to portray like a child, which making it's what we talked about earlier of not fully making like Billy Batson versus Shazam, so Zachary Levi, and Angel, like they didn't match what was going on, but
Yeah.
Megan Good matched her counterpart phenomenally while acting. So that was something that I thought was funny and worked out really well. So
You
just
know,
wanted to highlight that.
speaking on that too, I think the guy who played Freddy's counterpart, I think his name is like Dylan. I don't know. I
hmm
know he's from like Teen Wolf, and he's been in a bunch of stuff. But he did fairly well being
hmm
Freddy's counterpart as well. Like I said,
Yeah.
that was interesting. I think the other actors that became powered by Shazam did very well in
hmm
matching the personalities of their younger selves, but
Yeah.
it wasn't the same for the main Shazam.
hmm
But yeah, so that's all the background I have.
Cool. Absolutely. Well, great. Thank you so much. And yeah, so It's a movie. There's movie stuff going on with it. But how does this movie start?
So
Where are we led to? What's going on?
we open up at a museum in Athens, Greece, where this museum curator is like explaining about some new artifact that they had found. I think a year or two prior, this staff of the gods, and it's in a display case and it's broken in two, and it's actually the staff that was used to power Sivana from the first Shazam. So at the conclusion of the first Shazam, Shazam as the superhero snaps the staff in half in order to stop Sivana and his monsters from taking over, taking over the world, and then he just discards it. So it is found and taken to Athens, Greece, where it's on display. And in this museum, you see two soldiers. They look like Trojan soldiers or something like that. They walk in. And the museum curator assumes that they're just cosplaying or something like that, or super.
Yeah. What is that actor's name? Do you remember the guy who's doing?
He's been in a lot of stuff. Like
And he's like, he's just funny and he's a great character actor. He's just funny and zany in everything he does. Yeah. So that was a perk. I'm just like, see, museums are fun, and I'm like, all right, this guy.
And so we see these two Trojan soldiers, step to the display case of the staff, and they immediately try to break it or whatever. And like the museum curator is like, "Stop! What are you doing?" Like, and they just ignore him. They shatter the glass case that's holding the staff and remove their helmets, and you see that they're two women.
They're not sirs at all. They were calling them sir at first, and you're like, nope, they aren't sirs. How dare you assume gender? All right, for the record.
One of the sisters goes to touch the staff and gets her hand smacked. And I think these were those moments where they were trying to, because we'll see later, like build that tension between the daughters or whatever. So one of the sisters attempts to touch the staff. She gets her hand smacked. And so the elder sister touches the staff instead, and you see like this electric charge go through her, and she's obviously gained some powers. And then this other sister touches the staff as well. I think they each take half of the staff, and they both kind of get powers from it. And then it is just straight chaos in this museum. So like one of the younger sister, whose name is Calypso, has the power of chaos. So she whispers, and I think one of the security guards tries to take her down. She whispers something in his ear. His eyes go black, and he's like clearly infected with something. And he like, because of him, he keeps going to each person and infecting them in the room. And then people are trying to get out. People are trying to escape. And once again, these are these nightmare scenes that David F. Sandberg does. They're just like, Jesus, this is terrifying. Like, you're in that moment. Like, people are trapped. They're trying to get out.
I felt the exact same way about, like, from those nightmare sequences of, granted, they're like, she chaoses them because she has the power of chaos, so she's convincing them to like do things, and like they were whispering in people's ears, but they're basically zombies that instead of biting people, they were whispering in the other people's ears, and that's how the zombie thing spread. But like that was terrifying. Like just like the movements they had, like the camera angles, like that is kind of, it seems, where he excels, is like those action or those horror action sequences of like, ooh, all right, and like just the special effects of that was a cool part. So when you have the opening scene, I kind of was like, oh, this might be pretty good. Yeah, that was my thought. I was like, oh, you know what? This is turning out to be.
Started with what he was, what he did well in the first film, right? Or just his bread and butter when it comes to as a director. So as there's chaos going on, there's museum curator goes to the one of the sisters and goes like, can you just please not kill us? Can you please let us out? And Hespera, being the her power, she has the power of the elements. She whips up some dust, and the room gets really, sandy and like foggy. You can't see anything. And when the fog disperses, everyone in the room has been turned to stone.
Yeah.
And it was just like, once again, these people are terrified.
Yeah. You know what? I realized that just right now. A perk of this movie, I guess, a perk, if you want to call it a perk, is that they don't really have qualms about killing people in this movie. You know, like other superhero
Yeah.
movies are like people die kind of, but it's like
Well, they
super
don't.
often.
They do and they don't. We'll get to the at the end, but
Yeah. But like in this to see it, you're like, oh, okay. Like you
well,
just
yeah,
saw
that
all this
literally
stuff happen.
gives you stakes, right? Where
Yeah,
it's like you
exactly.
have a
So that
villain
was
that's gonna villain.
yeah, villain's going to villain until all of a sudden they can't villain because the movie needs to happen. But they're going to villain for a little bit.
Yeah, and also I think there's some dialogue between the sisters as this chaos is going, where they say they do see humans as lesser beings, right? And
Hmm.
it's like if you read into a lot of Greek mythology, like the gods saw humans as just things to worship them, right? They were
Hmm.
kind of and that's why we'll learn later that's why the humans revolted eventually. But so the sisters turned the entire museum, everybody in the museum, into stone, and then they mention
Hmm.
about how they're going to go start having fun or exact their revenge. But they are
Hmm.
a little bit terrified of the champion of this realm, talking about Shazam. And then we
Yeah.
jump right to Shazam in a therapy session where he's kind of
Hmm.
this is some of the weaker parts where he's basically expositing to the audience
Hmm.
through the
Yeah.
vehicle of a therapy session what happened. So it's just like he says, like a year ago or a year or two ago, he got powers, and now like he gave his whole family powers, and now they're trying to save the world, trying to keep their secret identity. He's just trying to keep people together. There's this I like you can I like I said, I think it was something that they tried to get across to the audience as this one for all thing. Like since he's in a foster system and he's been bounced around,
Hmm.
there is this fear of abandonment because everybody in his life has like either gotten rid of him or just like he's run away from. So like there is this fear of abandonment. So he is very much trying to keep his family together. And
Hmm.
he's people are like they got superpowers now. They want to do their own thing, and also they're individuals as well. Um, and so I think this is another funnier scene with like another actor, like the therapist is one that's all like that's always funny in whatever he does. Like he's
Hmm.
just a really good comedic actor. So he's just saying how like,
Yeah.
well, we can't focus on everything. First of all, I'm a pediatrician, so
Yeah. First of all, yeah. Like, you're a grown man, sir. I don't know who you are.
you are big people. I don't have the the degree in therapizing big people, but then he
Yeah, big peopleology? No, not my specialty.
so yeah, we get a scene in therapy where he's like kind of expositing about what's been happening in the past 2 years about the family, about him getting powers and stuff like that. And then really
Hmm.
kind of being vulnerable about his fear of abandonment. And I think you find out that he's turning 18 this year. So that means he's
Hmm.
going to age out of the foster care system. So he's kind of worried about what that means for him with the current family that he's been with. But
Yeah.
then he pretends to, like somebody in therapy, like trying to deflect. He pretends like he has some emergency to get out of continuing the session, and then you
Hmm.
jump to Billy, what's his name? Billy Batson. Sorry,
Hmm.
in the house with his foster siblings and his foster parents, and he's like playing a video game with one of his siblings, and you just kind of see like life, like them as like regular people, not as superheroes.
Yeah.
Mary mentioned that she didn't end up going to college. I think she was at the end of the first Shazam, she was doing college interviews and stuff like that. So she was, about to graduate high school, so on her way
Hmm.
to college. But she ended up not going. I think
Yeah.
because he was so adamant about them staying together now that they have superpowers. Um,
That's unhealthy. Just throwing that out there.
yeah,
That's
very,
not healthy.
very.
And you're just like, hey, cripple your entire potential future. Granted, she has superpowers now, so there's that. But, like, do you
It
think
was
he was
also
like,
like there are still colleges in Philly. Like I
yeah,
think she was trying to go away, like maybe to like
hmm,
Stanford or something. I can't remember it exactly where, like the more intimate details about the first.
hmm,
But I know she was doing college, like studying for college interviews and stuff like that. So she was going to end up going away.
yeah,
But so
yeah,
she didn't go away to college. And then you see Freddie now that he has superpowers. He's kind of
hmm,
pulling away as well because with his superpowers, he no longer is disabled. He can, he
Yeah.
can walk on his own. He can fly. He's stronger and things like that. So he's kind of pulling away. And he
He's
mentions
Captain Every Powers, man.
yeah. He I think he has like a police scanner, which is I feel like a
Mm.
default thing every superhero
Yeah.
gets. Like when they become
Yeah.
a superstar, just invest in a police scanner. So he mentions to Billy that there's an emergency on a bridge somewhere. So like
Hmm.
he wants to go, and he was like maybe just me and you, but Billy once again has this rule where it's all for one. If if
Yeah.
one of them does something, they all do it. So they all find an excuse to leave the house to go
Yeah.
fight on them.
Quick
Yeah.
question, just thinking about that. Do you think there's ever like a crime and like someone's busy, so like, nope, can't go. So they just let crime happen for that?
Stuff that's pissing me
If
off.
it's not everyone.
Bro, it's somebody got their purse robbed. I don't think all six of us need to be here.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, there's just a burning building. People are dying, and Billy's like, "Sorry, everyone can't make it. So good luck." Firefighters in Philly,
So sorry. So
they're the real heroes.
But yeah, so as they're leaving, which is I guess something that was important that they tried to point out, all the kids say bye mom to I think her name is Rosa or Rose.
Yeah,
And Billy instead calls her by her first name. Kind
yeah,
of just hinting that he doesn't see her as his mother or like something like that. Which just seemed out of place, but whatever. It's a movie. Movie got a
yeah.
movie.
Because at the end of the last movie, they were pretty family, right? Like
Yeah.
across the board, like everyone was like, "Hey, we're a
Yeah,
big happy
he
family."
truly like come into his own into that family, but whatever.
Yeah,
So there's this just scene on a bridge showing them kind of working, but not really. You see more of their personalities as their superhero counterparts. Darla, and talk about Megan Good and her performance. It was like really cute. She's saving these women in a car, but she gets distracted
yeah,
because they have a box full of kittens. So she saves the kittens
yeah,
first, and then comes back to save them. And it was like that was really cute. But like we were saying earlier, it's like they did very well with all the other superheroes did very well in mimicking or recreating the personalities of their younger selves. You see
except
Fred,
for
yeah,
Jorge's character, with his with the brother,
yeah,
or not. Yeah, it was Jorge. Yeah, exactly.
Jorge, yeah.
Like he was pretty much, and I'll mention this at the end too. But like, obviously, you have such an ensemble cast, so you can't necessarily give everyone a ton of screen time. You didn't really give him a lot of screen time, and I kind of felt like he was. They made him a very two-dimensional character who's only defined by one trait, and that was kind of, you see what they're going for, but you're like, yeah, that's not the best way to handle these kinds of situations. We'll talk more about that as it comes along, because it was meant as like a humorous kind of like nice moment, I guess. But I was like, wait a second, like whatever. But yeah,
Yeah, so they first so the bridge is collapsing. They first start saving people from their cars and stuff like that to get them off the bridge. And once everybody is safe off the bridge, now they're going to try to make sure secure the bridge so it doesn't collapse. This I guess is another funny scene where like Shazam goes, "Oh, there's no way this bridge is gonna fall," and then like the next
yeah,
next thing you see is a news report that the bridge has indeed collapsed, and they're blaming it on the what do they call them the chaos
the Philly
something
fiascos,
Philly fiasco, yes.
yeah, they're a big old mess. Yeah.
And so after the emergency at the bridge, they are having a team debriefing in the Rock of Eternity, which was the realm that the wizard existed in from the original Shazam.
Yeah.
And you see that they've really made it their own kind of man cave. It looked like a hangout spot for a bunch of kids. Like they've hung up posters and like put in like foosball tables and whatever stuff like that. And they're
Yeah.
having this debriefing, but nobody like Shazam's trying to run this meeting, and once again going back to the therapy session where he's trying to keep his family together. But no, everybody's like, bro, we got other things to do. Like we did the superhero thing. Now we don't. Not that they don't care, but it was just like they don't need to be kind of policed.
Yeah.
But I think so. Everybody kind of disperses. I think Eugene starts talking about how he's been mapping out. There's like random doors in the Rock of Eternity, and so like he's been mapping them out to see which ones are safe to go into because they're just floating doors in this realm. and you don't know where they lead to. So he's been kind of mapping them out for the team, so they know, which ones they can go into, which ones are kind of dangerous.
Hmm.
And so Eugene goes back to doing that. Jorge goes back to watching baseball, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Freddie goes off because he's just trying to be a cool dude. Darla, she had taken one of the kittens that she had found on the bridge, and she was like I think she must be like 8 or 9 or something like that, or
Yeah.
maybe 10. But she was just like,
Maybe
I
10.
can't,
But yeah.
I can't keep these kitties. So she
Yeah.
goes up to the bridge. And it was like once again, Good did an amazing job playing a 10-year-old girl. And then
Yeah.
Mary, who says she had a work or something because once again she didn't go to college, but they have a heart to heart
Hmm.
because she's experiencing what she already experienced with Billy is going through, where she aged out of the foster care system, but she didn't
Hmm.
have to leave the house, right? Like they didn't. It's not like the parents had kicked her out, and I think that's what Billy is a little bit worried about because of the fact that he wasn't as susceptible to coming into the family. He took a little bit longer, but I think what he
Hmm.
forgets is the foster parents were in the foster care system themselves. That's why they were so adamant about having so many kids and being
Hmm.
patient with Billy in the first one. It was just like, so why would you think that they would kick you out just because you aged out? Like their whole thing was making sure or just keeping the kids together because they had been through the system themselves. But once
Yeah. I
again,
guess you
movie
could.
got a movie.
Yeah. And I mean, I guess you could like make the argument that, because of all of Billy's trauma, which is very real, and like him bouncing around and not having these familial bonds as he's growing up, like even though the end of the last movie showed that they were really together as a family and it was really clicking, 2 years goes by and he still has those deep seated insecurities that
Mhm.
eventually he will be abandoned again. So I guess you could make that argument of
Yeah,
that's
you
why
can't
he's
get into
feeling this way.
somebody's head. You're right. I think it's
Yeah.
just, but
Yeah.
I
But
think
still.
also while that's happening, we see the daughters of Atlas,
Hmm.
who we're calling them the Hespera and Calypso. They visit the wizard who had
Hmm.
given Shazam his powers in the first one. He is now in prison somehow. I think they don't explain it. It's weird
Yeah.
um, because of the fact that Billy keeps reminding us throughout the film that he just kind of disappeared or faded into dust after he gave
Hmm.
Shazam the powers. But he's in prison somewhere. It's been it seems like an eternity. Um, but this is where you get more backstory and why the daughters of Atlas are upset with him because of the fact that there was like we said, with
Hmm.
humans revolted against the gods, and they stripped the gods of their powers and put it into the staff. And so I realized their
Yeah.
father that like that because one of the Shazam powers is the stamina of Atlas, who is their father. So it's like
Hmm.
that's why they're so because one they got their power stripped, but also their father was killed
Yeah.
for to in order to make the champion. Um, so that's why
Hmm.
that they have a vendetta against the wizard. So they force the wizard to fix the staff, so they can go about
Hmm.
exacting their revenge. And the staff's powers is basically it can give people powers, but it can also take them away, which is a big plot point in this
Hmm.
movie. It's back and forth, as we'll
Yeah.
see.
And the staff can also do whatever else it needs to do at the time because it's magic staff. All right, so it's just like who knows what this staff does? It can make eggs. It can take powers. It's just its staff's going to staff. All right, it helps you walk. Lots of things the staff does for you.
So we after so we now the staff is fixed or whatever, and I think the wizard is attempting. He does some bit of magic to try to see who's responsible for
Hmm.
this. Um, and
Yeah.
so while right before as we're getting this, Freddie is at school. He gets and he meets the new girl Anne, and they kind of have
Hmm.
a cute little chemistry. And then he gets bullied by the guys from the first one who like hit him with a car, like in the first Shazam. Like
Yeah,
he's
I
in
don't.
prison.
I couldn't remember that at all. Yeah.
I can't. I
These
don't
dudes
know
are dicks.
I don't know what disability he has. I just know he walks with like
Mhm.
a cane. And so
Yeah.
like yeah, they break his cane and are bullying him in front of Anne because he was trying to protect her from them. And then
Yeah.
we get one of the
But like
teachers.
as a whole,
Yeah.
dude, like these are two dudes bullying like a handicap kid. You know, he
Yeah,
has like what the, like okay, like I get like Freddie can be a little mouthy, you know,
yeah,
so like there's part of it where it's like, all right, if you're gonna mouth off like that to somebody, well then like someone's gonna kind of have to do something. But to go out of nowhere and then just bully a handicap kid and bend his cane, like those dudes are scum. Those
and also
dudes are
nobody
like
was doing
terrible
anything.
people.
Like at some point, I'm
Right,
just like,
right.
there's rules. Like,
Yeah, like that's something like I mean I've seen such I would step in if like I was not you know if I just saw two dudes picking on a dude with a cane like that I'd step in and be like dude, what the fuck are y'all doing, you need to stop, like, or if they're not I might sock them, you know. Like especially in high
yeah, so we
school
do get
shit.
it. We finally get a teacher
Yeah.
that steps in and kind of gets them to leave Freddie alone. But I think the
Mm-hmm.
whole point of this was to I think introduce the new girl and
Mm-hmm.
also show that Freddie is very much brave in his own way.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and then after, sorry, one second.
Mm-hmm.
Then
Also show that high schoolers are dicks, just throwing that out there, but yeah.
yeah, exactly. Maybe we should get these kids out of here because they were both literally in their mid 20s. Like we need to either
Yeah,
graduate,
there was that too.
go get your GED somewhere. But so we see in the next scene we see Billy is Shazam is at a restaurant with Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like
This was one of the funniest things in the movie.
you can clearly see that it's a dream. It was like just like in the first Shazam when Superman appeared, you only see him from the neck down. So the same thing
Mm-hmm.
with Wonder Woman, like you see her from the shoulders down, and then when she stands up to leave, you only see her from the back, and when she finally turns around, it's the Wizard. And he's warning, and the hilarity ensues as it does.
Yeah,
But the
I
Wizard is
cracked
trying
up.
to warn Shazam about the Daughters of Atlas coming for him
Mm-hmm.
because the staff, um, when they created it, they used it to keep out, like to keep the gods out of this realm or whatever. And when it was broken,
Yeah.
it dissipated that barrier. So now the Daughters of Atlas are coming, for the champion. And so Billy wakes up and he immediately, tries to have a meeting with the family to kind of research and let them to warn them about the Daughters of Atlas. But everybody's there except for Freddie. He's having more moments with Anne. He's like showing her around the school. They
Mhm.
have lunch together. I
Yeah.
think he walks into her
Did
class.
you think? Did you think that? So for me, when I saw that, and like I kind of put, I was like, oh, that's like that Anthea will or Anne will grow into Lucy Liu. Just like all the kids have their alter egos. I thought that was gonna be like the same thing. I was gonna be like Freddie turns to Captain Every Power, Billy Batson to Shazam. I was like, oh, Anne will then speak her magic Calypso word and then turn into Lucy Liu's character. I thought
No,
that might
I
be the
mean,
case.
I just saw her being another daughter. Because also the
Yeah,
trailers don't help. I feel like I saw the
yeah,
scene on the
fair.
on the roof. You see
Hmm.
scenes of her using her powers a bit, so it was just like I
Got
knew.
you.
But once again, that's from the trailer, not me.
Yeah,
Maybe
I didn't
I
watch
think
any of the
maybe
trailers.
if I hadn't seen the trailers, that might have been my conclusion. But I had seen the trailer, so it's like
Hmm.
I knew that she was like just powerful in her own in her own way.
Got you. Yeah, no, I try to go in blind to like everything. So when I saw that, I was like,
I think
"Oh,
I might
Lucy
need
Liu!"
to
I was
start
like,
doing that just a bit
"Yeah."
because I read too much into. I mean, I don't
Hmm.
overdo it where I'm looking for Easter eggs, but just to get a sense of what the movie's going to be about. But since
Yeah.
oftentimes trailers are so informative that they give away too much.
Hmm.
But yeah,
For sure.
so the siblings are in the Rock of Eternity researching the Daughters of Atlas. You get what's his name? Jorge. What's the? Is that his name?
Oh, Jorge's character? Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
that's.
So yeah.
I think I can double check as well, but I think that was his name. Yeah.
Yeah, so he finds he had found like a library in the Rock of Eternity, and so they go in the library. You meet Steve,
Yes.
which is a sentient quill, and he's helping
Hmm.
them to do research on the Daughters of Atlas. So like the siblings are finding about the daughters, and then Freddie is having moments with Anne. He takes her to like the rooftop,
Hmm.
and because they're talking about the fact that he's encountered super like he's been say it again.
Damn it! Here, sorry. It's. I think it's Pedro, not Jorge. Whoopsie.
Oh, so sorry, so
My
sorry.
bad.
Um,
Yeah. Sorry.
so Pedro is the one that found the the
Yeah, I found the
library
museum.
during
Yeah.
Eternity. So Freddy's having this moment with the sisters and sorry with Anne, and at the same time the
Hmm.
siblings find out that there's not two daughters of Atlas, there's three. There's Hespera, Calypso,
Yeah.
and then Anthea.
And the
And
yeah.
Anthea looks very similar to Anne. They see this drawing
Hmm.
in a book, so they immediately go to try to find Freddy because they know that he's in danger because he's with Anne most
Hmm.
likely. And at the same time, Freddy is showing off his superhero alter ego to Anne, and you do see that there's something strange about, or like there's like definitely something brewing there with Anne. And so
Hmm.
as Freddy is, Captain, what was his stupid ass name? Captain Everypower.
Captain Everypower is the
Which
dumb
is
name he
weird
gave
because he's
himself.
like a
Captain
big
Everypower.
superhero guy, and it was like that's the name you came up with. I get
Yeah.
you're a
Right.
child,
Yeah.
but come on.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, so he gets ambushed by Hespera and Calypso, the other daughters of
Hmm.
Atlas, and he finds out that Anne, aka Anthea, is also a daughter of
Hmm.
Atlas, and they immediately use the staff to strip him of his powers. Um, Shazam and the kids try to save him, and they can't.
Well, I
Calypso,
want to just put in here too. So they strip him of his powers, and then you have the teacher come, and they just
oh yeah,
gloss
yeah,
over this later. So, like the teacher that like helped him out with the bullies earlier comes, is like, "Hey, how'd you all get up here?" Which, for the record, my thought: how did this student get up on the roof? Those roofs should be locked. Students aren't allowed up there. But the teacher comes through, and he's like, "Whoa, what's going on here?" And then, like, Freddy's like freaking out trying to get him away. And Calypso, Lucy Liu's character, whispers in his ear. And I'm like, oh, what's she doing? She makes him jump off the building, and there's a full on thud splat noise. Like a
hmm
full on, like, that man splatted. And I'm like, I was a little shocked. I'm like, holy crap! Like he's dead, and they just gloss over that. I was like, no, Shazam's gonna come and like rescue him when he jumps off. Like that was the beat I was expecting, and they're like, nope, splat, and I was like, oh, okay, yeah, they don't mess around here with like killing
yeah.
civilians, man. Yeah.
And I think another thing, like you were saying, there's also this as a comment from Calypso saying that I forgot how they splat or something like that. There was this comment like
Yeah, or like how
basically
fragile
her
humans are or
like
something. Yeah,
since she's a god, they do have this superiority complex where they don't see humans as they just see them as playthings or like
yeah.
something like that.
Hmm.
So Billy attempts to save Freddy, and the sisters they escape and put a dome around Philadelphia.
Hmm.
And it's the comment about because they felt they were trapped before. I think so. Maybe the staff put a dome around the
Yeah.
gods, the so not Earth or whatever, but around the god realm, and that's why they couldn't escape.
Mhm.
Now that makes
Yeah,
sense.
so, like the stat before, yeah, like the same dome that's around Philly was around like the God World, and that
Yeah,
was just
got
here it
it.
is around, and then yeah.
Yeah. So it was like basically, how do you like it? And then
Hmm.
so the sisters escape. Billy and the siblings, feeling defeated, they go back to the library, um,
Hmm.
where they're trying to strategize because it was obviously this is something they've never dealt with because the only thing they've dealt with prior was Sivana from the first movie. I don't think they've
Hmm.
had any
Yeah.
like outside of like certain disasters in Philadelphia or like maybe like some small crimes. They haven't met a foe that really does not give a fuck about human existence.
Hmm.
And so they are trying to figure out what to do. Um, and as they're trying to figure out how to ransom for Freddy, you see Freddy has been thrown in a prison cell with the wizard, and he
Hmm.
recognizes the wizard because Billy has obviously been talking about the wizard, and he's like, "How can we get out of here?" The wizard is very much defeated and just wants to eventually die. It actually die.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
and they bring Freddy and the Wizard to the sisters to try to get the names of the other champions because obviously
Hmm.
they don't know them at all because they want to find them to strip them of their powers because the daughters of Atlas feel like they don't deserve them, like
Yeah.
because of the fact that their father had to die in order for Shazam to exist.
Hmm.
Um, and so they're torturing Freddy. but not getting anything from him. And you get these quips
Who
from
does a phenomenal job. The wizard got controlled by Calypso. Everyone's getting controlled by Calypso. Freddy still makes a joke. I'm like, okay, Freddy's got some willpower to him. Yeah.
And at the same time, the siblings find out that they can send a letter to anyone, which once again, movie magic, I assume.
Yeah.
But
Well, I meant to say this earlier too. Like the background lore of this movie is really cool, and like because I like mythology as a whole,
yeah,
so that was really cool. But like the Room of Doors is cool. Like the secret, room with Steve writing everything, and the giant library. Like I love like. I have lots of books. I loved that. That was amazing. So like I thought I was like, oh, this is a really cool world. So which just kind of a reason why I was a little disappointed with the movie as a whole. I'm like, the lore is here. There's so many
they
cool
could have leaned
things
into
here.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
But yeah, so they write a letter to the Daughters of Atlas saying that we'll give up our powers if you give us Freddy back. And it's very funny because Steve is dictating this letter. Like they just need to speak, and Steve will write it and send it off. So I think it was it's a very funny scene. I'll give them that, where Hesper is reading the letter from Billy, and Steve. They assumed that Steve would write everything down, and edit it so that it was pretty, use bigger words. But no, Steve literally dictated whatever they all said in the room. So like you get this like there was like a lot of funny beats where Helen Mirren's just reading off what these kids were saying to them in the room. But basically the gist of it is meet us here. We will surrender our powers, and you bring Freddy. And so they're like, okay. I think there's a bit of and I think this is what we're saying. It was like they kept trying to build tension between the sisters, but it was just like it. It was little moments. It wasn't. I don't think they really focused on it enough for it to be actual to be believable. And so they throw both the wizard and Freddy into this pit.
Rancor pit.
The ring, yeah, basically.
Because
they
the
like
Rancor
they don't
pit.
need him anymore. So they meet the dragon. I don't know if the dragon had a name. I wasn't even when I looked it up later. I don't think the dragon had a name. But basically, the dragon feeds on fear.
Spooky wood dragon.
Yeah, it feeds on your fear, so like you're unable to run. But they are ultimately saved by Anthea, who, after having spent time with Freddy and seeing like his willpower and his like his humanity, because they've been separate from humanity for centuries at this point. She saves them and tells them how to get out of the God realm. So
because he's a hero, the little hero boop. There it happens right there. It's like he's a hero. Boop.
And so as the wizard and Freddy are attempting to escape, Hesper goes to sit with Billy, and you see this moment in the trailer where like they're sitting outside of some burger joint, and this is another one of those things. The tonal shift was off because Hesper is dead ass serious. Like she's all about her business, and you see what's his name, Zachary Levi as Shazam, being very playful, and it was just like, bro, this ain't the time. Like, read the room. Type of thing.
Well, I mean, like he's an 18-year-old, and like Spider-Man makes fun of people all the time while he's doing stuff. Like he like talks.
Spider-Man realizes the moments. I mean, granted, he didn't see his aunt die before he got serious, yada yada yada. But I think he's not that playful, and it was like between Spider-Man, Green Lantern, and Deadpool, like some of the more sarcastic superheroes in the MCU. Like even they have their moments where it's just like it's not constant joke.
Well, for the record, I think we need to say this because we're already going to get some hate for messing up a name earlier. But you just said Green Lantern was Marvel, sir. No, they're DC. So what you did was Spider-Man is Marvel, Deadpool is Marvel, and Green Lantern is DC. So how dare you? Shazam's also DC. But just throwing that out there. So, but I agree because.
I guess I'm off the pod, I guess?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I don't make the rules. I just think them up and say them.
I'll leave everything here for you guys.
If you could, that'd be great. Yeah.
So we do see like that. So they have their moment, and like it's supposed to be an ambush, where the rest of the kids show up to to trap Hesper, because their plan is to trap Hesper in order to to ransom her for a
Yeah.
sister for a brother, basically.
Hmm.
But being that villains are not dumb,
Yeah, right? Like,
as soon as Billy shows his hand,
mhm.
she shows hers, and Calypso comes and immediately strips Pedro of his powers.
Yeah.
And so now you have this fight between the sisters and the rest of the siblings, um, and I mean it's interesting, I guess, but it is very
Hmm.
much, I think, whereas superhero movies, it was just like it kind of gets boring because it's just strong versus strong, and so
Yeah.
it's just a punch out type of thing.
And then also, like, this is what I was talking about, like, oh, so now you decide to use super speed? Like, before, it's like, he's going, like, so slow, or they're, like, getting caught by the lightning, they're getting caught by things, stuff is, whatever. But then, in, like, the fight sequence, it's like, oh, wait, that's right, I can immediately switch places with you so you get hit by your own attack. Do you know how fast that is? Like, when, Hesper, she made this giant metal ball, and she was like, I'm gonna hit you with it. And he was like, oh, I have super speed. And he literally switches places with her so she gets hit by it. And I'm like, why did you not do that, like, this entire fight? Right? It's like so much, like, people are getting caught, blah, 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 and, like, they can just decide, oh, that's right, I can actually go fast. Why wasn't I going fast before? And that took me out of a lot of these fights. Because, yes, you need the fights to happen, but, like, to have them just overpower them randomly like that makes it feel like there shouldn't be stakes, right? So, like, or you'd expect that, like, they can't move that fast because truly the enemies they're facing are that strong. But they are outclassing these enemies at times. Even though, like, they're completely outclassing them while every now and then getting caught. Like, if they can dodge the lightning from the staff, which strips them of their powers, why don't they just always dodge the lightning? Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I don't get it. Yeah.
So eventually, Shazam defeats Hespera, and they take her back to the Rock of Eternity to imprison her so that they can go. They put her in prison, and then they go to write another letter to the remaining daughters of Atlas to say, "We got your sister. Give us our brother. And it will be good." But obviously,
And they just didn't post any guards there or anything. It's not the right move. No, it's not the right move. Mm-mm.
But obviously, we find out that Hespera's plan was to get captured so that she could steal. Athea and I think also Calypso, they kept mentioning this seed that they needed. And so the seed is actually in the Rock of Eternity in the library. Excuse me. Hespera breaks out of her cell, like literally almost instantly, and
Yeah.
she goes, she gets the seed, and then she escapes back to the God Realm. Right as Freddy and the Wizard were about to escape, but now they realize they can't leave just yet because now the Wizard notices the seed and he knows what they're going to do.
The fancy golden apple.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
Shazam, right before they write the letter, Shazam and the family realize that she's escaped. So now they're going through the different doors to see where she escaped to. And at the same time, now Freddy and the Wizard are attempting to steal back the apple and the staff. But the Wizard... So the apple is in the middle of the throne room. The sisters are arguing about what to do with it. And so the Wizard is like, I'm going to go sneak in there to get the apple. And Freddy makes a crack about how the fact that the Wizard's knees, he's like, he can't be stealthy, but every time he walks, his knees crack.
Yeah.
And so so Freddy, being the optimal choice, I guess, in that moment.
I guess. Yeah. He's the sneakiest guy.
Yeah, he sneaks to get the apple. He gets the apple, but then as he turns in some slapstick comedy moment, he smacks over something.
Yeah.
Alerting the sister to his presence. But luckily, Shazam, ex machina his way through, into the God Realm. He steals the apple and the staff right before Freddy. Oh no, does he? Yeah. So Freddy gets his powers back briefly, and then immediately loses them. And then,
or was that a little bit later again, or was that while they're in the God Realm?
Actually, no. You're right. He does keep his powers. So
yeah, he keeps his powers for now. Yeah.
And then Shazam saves them and steals the staff and the apple, I believe. No, just the apple. Just the apple. Yeah,
I
he's
don't
still
remember. Yes, because he chucked the staff at Freddy or something, or someone who's like, "Hey, catch!" Right, and then didn't
yeah.
Clips would just snatch it at this point in time,
Yes.
which is ridiculous. Like, come on. But yeah, so movie's got a movie. But
Yeah.
yeah.
So the prisoner, so Freddy, the wizard, Shazam escaped with the apple, and then
Hmm.
while they were fighting, the sisters were basically fighting about what to do with the seed. Right. The whole point
Yes.
is the seed will create the tree of life,
Hmm.
and they wanted to just recreate the God realm. Like it's been in despair since the gods were killed.
Script. Hmm.
So like they just want to recreate their realm, but you do see Calypso kind of like, no, we need to get back at the humans. But it was just like it just didn't feel like they had earned this kind of ire towards the humanity. It was like just super
Yeah.
weird. It seemed very
Hmm.
forced.
For the record, I want to say that apple looked delicious. I just wanted to know what it tasted like. Yeah, that's what I would have
Like I
done. Like,
needed to go get breakfast because I feel like that was
yeah.
delicious.
No, because I love a good apple. Apple is like a nice, cool, cold, crisp apple like that crunches. Oh, that's good. And that looked like a tasty apple. And there are still seeds in the apple. You can take a bite and plant it, and it'll still grow. So I say someone should have taken a bite because I wanted to know. All right, that's my 2 cents. I'll be here all week.
You're asking me important questions.
Yeah,
What
exactly.
flavor was the apple? Does it go
Exactly.
well with the dipping sauce?
Ooh, a caramel dipping sauce on my apple.
So, Calypso, having had enough of the champions and humanity,
Yeah.
she summons her dragon to break
Hmm.
out of the god realm and into the real world. And
Yeah.
so we have this a very brief moment where like the kids and the wizards. So all the kids have their powers except for Pedro, and so they break
Yep.
into the uh, they break back into their house and go into the
Hmm.
parents' bedroom to try to get them to, get out of here because obviously they're being chased by a dragon. So Shazam goes, we need to stop lying, just tell them the truth. And what he means is tell them the fact that they are,
Yeah.
what was it, the fiasco, whatever,
The Philly fiascos.
really they are
Yeah.
those superheroes, right?
Yeah.
But Pedro,
Hmm.
after hearing that he needs to tell the truth, he just comes out and says that I'm gay. And like, there's a brief
Yeah.
moment where like Billy and the family goes, "Yeah, we know, bud," and he's like, I think he's kind of relieved.
Hmm.
Um,
Which, and like they're like, yeah, we know, bud. That's great. And like this is what I was talking about in the beginning. And like it's phenomenal to see how supportive his family is, and like that it's so easily accepted. And that I did really appreciate. I wasn't as big a fan of like. I guess they didn't give. They gave Eugene a little bit of screen time, but like for Pedro, all of his screen time that he had up to this moment was basically just on the fact that he was gay, right? So like you had
yeah,
the baseball scene in the beginning where he's looking at like shirtless baseball guys in a magazine. Cool, okay. You have him come out like at this moment, but those are his only 2 moments. So it kind of just really reduces the character of Pedro to being a young gay teenager, and like because of that, that just made me. I was just like, "There's so much more they could have gone." But again, the movie's 2 hours and 10 minutes already, so maybe they did have a lot more, like character build up with him. But to reduce him that way, I felt was in a little bit of poor taste. But I mean, at the same time, it was really nice that their family was there to support him
yeah,
in him telling everyone. So that was a really positive thing too. I just wish they could have been a little more character development with it too, so we weren't reducing him. But
yeah.
yeah, I got his name wrong for the first part of this movie, so I can't talk. So
I mean, yeah, we're all flawed.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
they
Yeah.
get the parents out just in time for Calypso and the dragon to emerge from the god realm and destroy the
Hmm.
house. They try to run away, but the dragon immediately finds them, and everybody gets stripped of their powers except for Shazam and Mary.
Hmm.
And Mary
Yeah.
flies off with the apple. I don't know to where. And also, I think it's also what you were saying about the
Hmm.
super speed. Is it just super speed on foot,
Yeah.
or can you fly super fast? Like, make it make sense.
Yeah, and like sometimes they can fly super fast, sometimes she can't. So all of a sudden she's like, "Oh, this dragon needs to catch me, so I'm gonna fly slow." I'm like,
Yeah.
"Okay,
So
yeah."
as Mary's flying away with the apple, Calypso and the dragon give chase. Calypso zaps her with the staff, and Mary loses her power, so
Hmm.
she starts to fall. As does the apple. Calypso goes for the apple,
Hmm.
and Shazam has to make. It was funny because I was like, as I'm watching reviews and like review videos on YouTube about the movie, and it was like Shazam has a choice
Hmm.
whether to save Mary or the apple, and I was like, no, it was save Mary. Like,
Yeah,
you were
that's
really
save the apple every time. What are you talking about
this is
now?
this is not the Joker pushing off, like either the love interest or Robin, and you got to choose.
Yeah.
Like, it was either the apple or your sister. You cannot. It was like so dumb. Like, but anyway, so he saves Mary.
Yeah.
Calypso gets
Hmm.
the apple, and now she goes to the baseball stadium in Philly. I don't know what it's called. I feel so bad because I'm an Eagles fan. I should know at least some of the Philly sports. But she goes to the baseball field where the Phillies play, and she plants the seed, and it immediately sprouts a tree of life and
Hmm.
seeds. And these seeds, grow and turn into monsters. And you
Yeah.
see like what is it like? I think sirens and like different like minotaur
Yeah.
cars and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
the Minotaur. I'm blanking on. It's like the Kid something, or the lion head with the scorpion tail. That thing is
Yeah.
terrifying. Yeah. So
Yeah,
like
but
this
basically, a
was.
bunch of terrifying monsters start sprouting out of their tree of life, and I think Anthea makes a comment about the fact that
The Manticore. Sorry, the Manticore.
they didn't want to plant the seed on Earth because humanity is so flawed that's why
Hmm.
the tree of life looks like um so damaged and decaying because
Yeah.
it reflects the world that it's existing in.
Which, as a member of humanity, I find that messed up. All right, that's kind of what are you trying to
Yeah,
say about my humanities, my fellow humanities? That don't make sense. All right,
I feel
lots of
like
monsters.
every
That's
single sentient AI has been trying to kill us in films. Skynet, Ultron. Maybe it's
fair,
humanity's
fair.
fault. But so now they're trying to so we have the moment where like the family looks over. They're in a parking garage and they look over what's happening to the city,
Mhm.
and realizing that they need to stop the system. They need to
Yeah.
destroy the tree, or something. So Billy, being the only one with powers left, he's gonna go fight the sisters. You guys just help the people out because the monsters are attacking the civilians
Mhm.
of Philadelphia. So I mean, without power somehow, but who cares? Yada yada yada.
Yeah, we just figure it out. You'll be all right. Yeah,
The
you have
movie
a
got a
van.
movie.
You'll be good.
So the
Chris
siblings
Pratt
and
hand, just Chris Pratt hand everything. It'll
the
slow down.
siblings and the parents and the wizard hop in a van to go help out the civilians in Philadelphia, and
Hmm.
Billy goes to fight the dragon and Calypso. Oh, and also at
Yeah.
this time,
Well,
so even the sisters, like Calypso's other sisters, Hespera and Thea, were against this.
hmm.
But
Yeah.
so Calypso kills what's her name, Hespera, and
Hmm.
she goes to strip Anthea of her powers because she says, obviously, you want to be human if you want to save them. So she goes to zap
Yeah.
Anthea with the staff, but Anthea uses her powers. Which I don't know what they were. It was like maybe just like illusion
I
or
think
something.
like her powers. So it's Axis, which so stuff is
Axis. Okay.
twisting around and all of that.
Hmm.
But it's like so she can like move landscape and like do everything with her hands, but it doesn't like change her position or stuff coming at her, I guess, or stuff
Okay.
moving fast enough to go through everything. But she moved very far away from this lightning bolt, and then she watched it for like 10 seconds keep coming towards her. She's like, okay, okay,
It was very
oh
much
crap,
like
it
an
hit me.
anime, like what? But yeah, so
When
Anthea
does
loses her powers. Sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say, when does Anthea see, Freddy again and her family? Is that's before she loses her power at
No,
first,
no, it's
right?
after she loses her powers because she tries to remember
Mm.
they try to stop the dragon, but she doesn't have her powers anymore.
Yeah, but then
That's
there's
why
like the
Freddy was chasing her
family.
because she was just on the
Yeah,
ground in the city. This was after she removed herself
yeah, yeah, yeah.
from her sister and lost her power. She
Gotcha,
lost her
gotcha.
power
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right after Hespera died.
Yes. Well, yeah, I remember that part. I thought maybe she saw the family before too, and then
No, no.
Rosa
Oh,
was
no.
like, "Hey,
You're right. You're right. You're right. She did see the
yes,
family,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah."
told them that she was going to go try to stop her sister.
Yeah, I was like, when did this 7,000-year-old woman kiss the minor? That's what I want to
There,
know. Like that's
once again, you're asking the right questions, and I appreciate it.
just throwing that out there. I'm like, hey, sketchy. Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
Billy goes to try to stop the dragon, and he can't. So he makes a
Hmm.
deal with Hespera, who's still alive. That's why
Yeah.
the dome is still up. And
Oh,
he
I'm
says,
sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, just because while that happened too, you did have that resolution between Billy Batson and Rosa,
Yeah.
being like when Billy was like at this point in time too with the family, she's like, "Oh, let me see you again, not as Shazam, but as Billy Batson," and he
Hmm.
was like, "I understand, I'll be 18, you can kick me out of the house," and she's like, "What are you talking about?" Which
Yeah.
also, goes to that, 'cause again, like he had his deep seated insecurities and trauma. I totally get that. I'm not diminishing his trauma with that, but this woman has been nothing but like lovely and supportive. So like obviously, can you have that conversation? But it was very much like, no, of course, you're my son. You're totally good, which is phenomenal. But then you're like, why was he stressing out so much for parts of
Yeah.
this? Because again, you don't know what's inside
Yeah.
somebody.
At what point did they give you this inkling that they were going to kick you out at 18?
Exactly. That was kind of my question or
Is Mary
thought with
still a
it.
dumb dumb? But anyway,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
but yeah. So yeah, we have this moment where the kids are helping the civilians. Freddy, as the kids are helping the civilians, Freddy notices Anthea, so he starts chasing her because she's just
Hmm.
walking around throughout the chaos in the city. We get a
Yeah.
moment where what is her name?
Darla.
Darla.
Hmm.
Um, they're asking
Unicorns.
what are monsters afraid of, and
Yeah.
I guess it was hilarious where the wizard's like the monsters are afraid of the king of monsters, which is the unicorn,
The unicorn, and I love this.
and
That was like
it
I
was
love.
funny as hell because it was like he
Yeah.
was dead ass serious. So it's just like
Hmm.
us as like the audience is just like really unicorns, little sparkle
Yeah.
of rainbows or whatever. And so they go to find a unicorn,
Hmm.
and Darla is able to tame it with because unicorns like what was it? Something with an A.
Ambrosia.
Ambrosia, yeah.
Ambrosia. Yeah,
So
which
it's
is
like
nectar of God. Very
yeah.
sweet.
So they find a unicorn as it's like hatching from one of the seeds, and it starts
Hmm.
charging at them. All the kids are terrified. Even and the wizard is the one that's the most terrified, which is
He's
hilarious.
like, "What are you doing?"
But
Yeah.
Darla, fearless, she stands there and she throws as it gets close. She throws Skittles at it because
Yes.
earlier in the film, she had like Mary had mentioned like that Darla kept putting Skittles in her pockets.
Darla loves Skittles. How much did Skittles pay
I was,
Shazam? That's what
that's
I
what I
want
was
to
about
know.
to say. So tame the unicorn. Like that's the
Yeah, exactly. Taste the rainbow. Like I will say, it did a phenomenal job. I haven't had Skittles in a long time, and after watching this, I was like, "Damn, I need some Skittles." I was like, I haven't had Skittles in like a year or two, maybe, and I was like, "I want Skittles."
But yeah, so they tame the unicorn. The unicorn calls its brothers, and
Mhm.
they all ride unicorns, which is I forgot I saw that in the trailer at one point.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
but
And
so
literally, they say "Taste the rainbow." They say the tagline of Skittles in this. Skittles paid at least $10 million for them to say "Taste the rainbow" in Shazam. You heard it here first.
so the siblings are going to protect the civilians from the monsters. Freddy finally links up with Anne, but they are quickly ambushed by Calypso and the dragon. And the dragon uses its fear powers again instead of its flames. And
Mhm.
this is, I think, another thing we were talking about was like you can't show the powers of something and then
Yeah.
they don't use it to suffice
Did
the
the
plot.
dragon ever breathe fire before this moment? Like the
It had,
dragon,
yeah.
like I didn't.
It burned
Like
no,
the
it burned
it
Shazam.
had. Okay.
Remember? So it's just like it burned Shazam,
Yes.
and that's why he was like he had
Hmm.
never because he had once again he's basically invincible, so he had never been hurt before. So yeah,
Yeah.
it had used the flames. But anyway,
Hmm.
um, right before the dragon is going to take out Anne and Freddy. Uh, this is after what's his name? Shazam has made the deal with Hespera
Hmm.
because he realizes. Sorry, just to back up, he realized that the staff was being charged. It was like absorbing all of his attacks, all of his lightning.
Hmm.
So he realized it's being
Yeah.
charged up, and he thinks if he can charge it up enough, it'll explode and it'll destroy everything. So he makes a deal with Hesper saying, "All right, if you decrease the dome to a certain area, if I can get everybody out of the radius of the dome, I can charge it up, explode the dragon, your sister, and the tree, and save
Hmm.
everybody else." So he saves Freddy and Anne, and then the dragon chases him back to the tree of life. And as they're doing this, Hesper is decreasing the radius of the dome from all of the city of Philadelphia to just the stadium, the
Hmm.
baseball stadium. And
The
so
Philly Stadium.
once they get in there, Shazam starts charging up. He just starts shooting lightning to charge up the dome, which was once again talking about how they've foreshadowed this when he got awoken in his from his dream from the being warned about the daughters of Atlas from the wizard.
Mhm.
He had like some globe. I think it was like what's his name? A Tesla, something like the Tesla globe that exploded.
Yeah.
So it was like that's where he got the
Mhm.
idea, or whatever. But so he charges the dome. He tells his like right before as he's charging the dome, he tells his family like this is what he has to do to protect protect them. And it's I guess an emotional moment between him and Freddy, him and his
Yeah.
family. And then he fights the
It was
dragon,
really
which is really
nice.
cool. And I think these are
Yeah.
these dope visuals you were talking about as far as like the lightning,
Yeah.
Shazam, the dragon.
Mhm.
And so he charges up the staff, and it explodes, and it kills Calypso, the dragon, the tree, which then kills all of the monsters, and
Mhm.
then right after this happens, Hesper also dies, so the dome dissipates,
Mhm.
and the family goes to see if Billy's okay, but he hadn't survived
Yeah.
the explosion,
I
and
didn't fully get with the explosion. I was like, I get like the thought behind it, but I didn't understand why like the fight with the dragon all of a sudden it exploded. I was just kind of like, the sequences were cool. When Shazam was charging stuff up, the blue lightning around looked really cool. But in that end climactic fight, I wasn't very moved by the end climactic fight, and I was like, oh man. But
it's
yeah,
been strong versus strong. It was just like it's punchy
Mhm.
stuff, so it's just like
Yeah,
it takes you out of it.
yeah,
But I think what happened with the staff, it was like he said Shazam, and
hmm
every time he says the word Shazam, a
the
bolt of
lightning.
lightning comes. So it's like that was the last charge he needed. And
Yeah.
so I
Well,
think,
there's awesome sequences in comics and like some of the video games where like Shazam will be like Shazam, and he'll be like standing, like have someone like picked up, and he'll keep saying Shazam, so like lightning keeps striking the dude.
yeah,
It's pretty cool. Like, but yeah, so like I get that part, but like
yeah,
the whole like going through, but yeah, whatever. It was a fight.
yeah.
Yeah.
So they say that he died. He should be buried like a god. So somehow they
Mhm.
make it to
The God Realm.
the god. Don't.
I think there's
Well,
a door. But
maybe
yeah,
yeah. Okay, I thought it
yeah,
was Athens. That's why I was confused. But it was the god realm. But anyway,
yeah. I'm pretty sure, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes,
You're
because
right. No,
they're
you're
like
right. You're right.
tree there. Yeah, the tree was there, and they're like, well, there's no gods to reignite the spark of the tree. What are we gonna do? But yeah.
And so they bury him, and then
Mhm.
yeah, the wizard, because Darla asked, it was like, "Is there nothing we can do?" The wizard says, "There's no gods left to reignite this staff." And then
Except.
you get your your second Wonder Woman fake out, but it's not a fake out.
Yeah.
And she comes and she reignites the staff, which brings all of the plant life, the tree back to life. So the plant life,
Mhm.
and also it brings back Shazam. Um, and so, and this is, I think that's what got me mad because it was just like you can't just let like it's these important moments like just let him be dead. Imagine if freaking Iron Man at the end of Endgame said, "And I am Iron Man," snaps his fingers, kills
Yeah.
everybody, he dies, and then like at his funeral they're like, "But we found a way to bring him back." Like
Yeah. Yeah.
you take away the emotional beats of that sacrifice.
Yeah. I will say a perk of it though for this one is killing Billy Batson, killing Shazam. That's pretty potentially hard to do, but I truly thought this man was dead for like the longest time.
Mhm.
For a solid like 5-10 minutes of the movie, you're like, no, Shazam's dead. Holy
Yeah,
crap! And like I was like, wow. I was literally, in my notes, I was like, are they really going to go through with this? I was like, are they really going to go through with leaving this man dead? They convinced me they were, and then they didn't. But they convinced me for a second that
yeah.
they were going to do. Yeah.
But yeah, so Shazam has this, kind of a kind of a cute back. I don't know, a cute back and forth, but this back and forth with Wonder Woman. He's obviously in love with her.
Shoot your shot, King. Shoot your shot. Yeah.
So yeah, he tries to ask her out, and she says, "Stick to saving the world, kid." And then like she goes
Yeah.
and leaves, and then so they go back to the human realm to rebuild.
Mm.
So first everybody gets their powers back, and
Yep.
then they go back to rebuild the house that the parents had been building for them. And then sometime later they're having dinner. They get a knock at
Hmm.
the door, and it's the wizard, but he's
Yeah. He
dressed
cut
up
his
more
lock,
modern.
shaved his beard.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
he looks more modern, and he arrived to take the staff back because he feels, to keep it safe,
Hmm.
and he feels the need to. And I think Anthea says the same thing where she's gonna stay in the. Oh, Anthea also gets her powers back. By the way, I forgot to say.
Yeah. So that was funny at dinner when, like, Rosa, who is not a fan of a 7,000-year-old woman making out with
Hmm.
her 17-year-old son, but hey, what are you going to do? She was like, so, Anthea, what's your plan? How long you, and Anthea's like, I'm going to take some time off, maybe explore the human realm. And, like, very much like the whole, like, why are you still talking to my son? Go away. That was funny. But then when the wizard comes up, Billy Batson's character, he's like, it's the wizard. I'm like, duh. But like, I was just like, why did they have, were they worried people weren't going to recognize him without the beard and locks and like in
Hmm.
like normal clothes? I think that's really what it was. They were like, people are going to be like, who is this, mysterious man that just came into the house all of a sudden? But yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, the wizard takes the staff back. You see that he's gonna also explore the human realm. I think he's been kind of avoiding it, staying within in the Rock of Eternity and
Hmm.
stuff like that. Anthea is going to explore I think it's once again, I guess, getting these gods to walk
Yeah.
among the people who worship them. Um,
Hmm. Anthea's
and
going to be exploring something.
all right, relax, guy.
The world, like, so she can see what's going on. Don't be gross,
Um,
Mike.
Shut up. So yeah, that's the end. No, so then the last scene
And
of the
that's it. That's
movie
the end of the movie. Yeah.
is
And then you get this after credit scene.
no. Right before the wizard leaves, Billy, because it's a running gag in the movie about like what his superhero name is. And he,
Oh, right.
excuse me, and I think they did the same thing in Black Adam where it's just like Billy says, "What's my name?" and
Hmm.
the wizard goes, "Your name is," and then it's the title credit of Shazam. No, actually, no, he just
Yeah.
says Shazam. Actually,
He says Shazam. Yeah.
yeah. So I don't know why that was a huge question, but whatever. Yada yada yada.
Yeah.
And
There
that's
you
the end of
go.
the movie. And then there's two post credit scenes. One
Hmm.
where Shazam is randomly in the woods somewhere, just like shooting bottles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you see two agents who work for Waller um,
Hmm.
recruiting Shazam into the Justice Society of America, which was the team that went to go fight Black Adam in the Black Adam movie. So he thought he was
Hmm.
getting recruited into the Justice League. They were like, no, you're not ready for that. And also, first of all,
Yeah.
Amanda Waller definitely doesn't run the Justice League. I feel like
Yeah.
that's not her. No disrespect to her, her role in the.
Mm.
I feel like she worked very hard to get wherever she is, but it's like she definitely isn't running the Justice League.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I would think maybe it was more of like that she can't invite him to the Justice League, but she does have the Justice Society or
yes,
whatever that she was
yeah,
trying to invite
exactly.
them to.
And
Yeah.
so, like, he makes a bunch of quips about how the Justice Society and the Justice League, the names are too, derivative. But it was also, once again, this tonal shift of Billy Batson and Shazam that kept throwing me off.
Hmm.
And then
Yeah.
the final scene is a throwback to the post credits from the first Shazam, where you have
Hmm.
Sivana, I believe, yeah, Sivana, who was
Yep.
in prison. He was in prison in the first one, and he got visited by Mr. Mind, this sentient caterpillar.
Yeah. The worm guy.
Yeah, and so Savina's like, "Where the hell have you been? I've been trapped here for 2 years," because they were
Hmm.
obviously going to plan some. They're planning something, and Mr. Mind was just like, "Plans take patience." And he was like, "And also, I'm a fucking worm. What do you, what do you want me to
Yeah.
do?" But so I guess it's like maybe hinting because I think after the first Shazam, the thought was Mr. Mind was going to be the big villain in the next one.
Mhm.
But maybe they're
Yeah.
gearing towards him being, a bigger villain in some possible, Shazam 2 sequel. We don't know, but that's how the movie ends.
Yeah.
Just a throwback to the post credit scenes from the first Shazam, and that's it.
All right. So that was Shazam! Fury of the Gods, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. At the end of all of our shows, we like to do a quick revisit to see if our rankings changed. So, Mike, your rating, did it change? What are you thinking?
It did, yeah. So it did. I think after obviously talking. This usually we only talk about it when we record. So it was just like after revisiting it with you, I think it did make me laugh a little bit more than I
Mhm.
gave it credit for. Like I thought some of the comedy was like it shifted the tone often, but it was like there were a lot more laughs than I gave it. So I think I can bump it up to a 2.5. I think it was like a fine movie. I really like the visuals more and the nightmare sequences.
Mhm.
than anything else, than like the story. But yeah, 2.5.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna, since I was between 2 or 2.5 in the beginning, I'm also giving it the definitive 2.5, because I think there was some good stuff from this movie. There was like things they could work with, and there were things where it's like people tried hard, and you're like, okay, I legitimately enjoyed parts of this movie. Other parts I did not like as much, and it was definitely a weaker. It was a weaker edition of the superhero movies. And I think, unfortunately, across the board, what you get now is there have been so many good superhero movies and so many superhero movies in general that when one comes out that's okay, it gets like a negative reaction as well. So that's why I'm giving it a 2.5. But again, everyone, thank you so much for listening. If you haven't checked out Shazam! Fury of the Gods, still go check it out, I'd say. 2.5. It's an entertaining enough movie. Or just wait till it comes out on HBO Max, if you have HBO Max. But if you would like to reach out to us, we are the Meddling Kids, so we are at 2meddlingkids on Twitter and Instagram. If you'd like to send us an email, it's 2meddlingkids@gmail.com. Feel free, hit us up if you have any movie ideas for us, or if you want to have any comments about things that we've been doing. Hey, we'd love to hear from you. Mike, how can they reach out to you, buddy?
At Days from Legendary on Instagram.
Beautiful. And if you'd like to reach out to me, I am at EdHunt77 on Twitter and Instagram. But that was our pod, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Bye.